morning, everyone. It's Rabbi Dr. Jack Cohen, dating coach and shadchan. I'm in the middle of a series in which I interview prominent people in the community who are doing wonderful things for Klal Yisrael. And over the course of my lifetime, I had the pleasure to meet the man to my left, Sholom Weinberger, who's doing wonderful work to help singles out there. A little bit of background. There's a minion factory in Brooklyn, New York, where we both live, that has, I know because I do their fundraising.
By the way.
That has 62 minyanim a day. And I think we must have met first in the mikveh.
Let's not get personal. No, we met upstairs. I remember when.
Okay. So anyway, we met there in the coffee room. We schmoozed a little bit after shul. Over the years, we got friendly, not knowing what either of us did.
Actually, not till way later.
Till much later, right? Exactly. Till much later did we discover that we both had common parnasa involvements, etc. And then we ran into each other with Sholom's fantastic wife, by the way. Frumi Weinberger is an amazing shadchan, very selfless, dedicated woman who tries so hard to help people from all walks of life.
That is
and
true.
Then I think this is where I'll probably turn the floor over to Sholom and ask him.
Ask away.
Was he the husband of the star, or did he decide to make it on his own? And what brought him in here? Sholom, why don't you tell the audience how you got into this work?
Okay, so I spent most of my life doing real estate, which I still do a bit, but it just kind of grew organically. Psychology is something I always was interested in. I almost went into it, and real estate just looked like it was going to make more money, to be honest. If you're going to get to know me, I'm straight up.
That's right. You have to pay the bills.
You got to pay. Baby needs shoes.
Right.
And over time, so we have an open household. You mentioned my wife. We have an open house. Always people around the house. We grew up with a lot of singles floating around. My daughter's friends. Other singles came in. My wife got involved in shidduchim later on, actually. And it's just after one Shabbos meal, my daughter turns to me. She goes, "You should do this." She'd be like, we had spent the Shabbos meal like just talking and, round tabling, and it was just one of those meals, where everybody was fetching.
Why don't we step back and ask,
Go.
when did Frumi get involved with it
For me,
herself?
it's about 7-8 years ago, I believe.
What motivated her? Also, the traffic pattern in the house?
No, that happened. I hope I'm representing it right, because I got to go home tonight, and I don't know your couch situation. But
mine is broken because the boys are having football mess on it.
Okay.
And we heard the snap about 3 weeks ago.
So much of that. So, Frumie's mother was in the hospital, and she spent a while there. And you either sit in the hospital when you're sitting with the patient, you're either sitting, reading People magazine, watching stupid sitcoms, or doing saying Tillim, which not everybody can say it for 4 hours straight. So she just kind of said, I'm doing English here. I need something to do. And she started getting into shidduchim. She just said, you know what, let me start doing shidduchim, and from there it grew. And Baruch Hashem, she's very active, she's good. She, as you said, she's not picky about who she takes care of. It's not, any particular type of person or demographic or anything in particular. And that was her.
Right, so how did you seg into it?
So I segged into it exactly that way. It was just started to do it. I was always counseling people. I was going to events with Frumi, and I was getting bored. And I just started talking to people and just said, okay, you know what, let me help you out. Do you have any questions? Stuff like that. And it just built and built. And I said, you know what, if I'm going to do this, let me do it right. So I went ahead and I took a course, coaching course with Refuah. They're very good. Spent a fair amount of time doing that. I got it. Learned. Then you go back, you take your own courses with psychology, you look it up, you get into it, And then, interestingly enough, I'm telling Judah from Pizza Time.
Yeah, just to put it out there, Judah Cohen is a famous personality in Brooklyn. His pizza is rated probably #1 in the country, in the kosher world. And he's a common friend to both of ours.
Yeah.
A former Uman roommate of mine for about 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Background here. So he goes, you and your psychology, you're going to be talking emunah b'tachon, you know, he speaks, emunah b'tachon more than anything. Just pack a chovot al-vavot and you'll be good.
Okay. Did you incorporate that into your method?
More than you imagine.
That's great.
It turns out that what we do is a lot of coaching and a lot of trying to get people through the difficulties in their life. And you wind up dealing with everything. And shidduchim is probably one of the hardest things that people go through if it's not going easy.
It's their biggest challenge in life.
It's really, really hard. I mean, to be honest, what we're doing getting together, we're trying to get a little message out there, trying to help people, trying to do something. You know, I'm humbled by the energy that people put into it, despite the...
Isn't it? The obstacles, the tension, the sometimes
pain.
lack of appreciation. It's just not an easy thing.
Yeah, you go in and
Yeah.
on the plus side, you know, in terms of bitachon, like it can turn around in a minute. It's kind of like Mashiach, you know, la'avdil. You know, if the right guy shows up or the right girl shows up, 10 years of dating, 2 years of dating, whatever is over. Finito. And all that is hopefully worth it. But you don't know when it's going to come, and you're not in control of it coming.
Exactly.
So
that's the biggest frustration for singles.
Yeah, it's just hard.
Yeah.
It's just really, really hard for people.
But you know something interesting? Sometimes they're under your tutelage. I see this with myself, and then they just disappear. I had this discussion today with a very big facilitator, Sharon Gans, a dear friend.
Yeah.
She said, you know what? As she's preparing for her next event, I want to put a shout out that her event is going to be in Woodmere. I think it's March 14th or 15th, that Shabbos. Anyway, she's saying that she's calling people up to come. She said, Sharon, I got engaged. Sharon, I got married. And she said, obviously, I wasn't the shadchan, but all these little efforts that people make, the events that they attend, the mentoring they receive, you never know when the benefits will come. You never know when the actual payback, Hashem is going to say, it's time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Like you said, you know what? You help them, you give them the tools that they need, you give them the kalim that they need, and then it's there. And then Hashem has a timetable.
You can't fight with Hashem's time. But today is just an example. We're going to do this podcast. We're going to do it. I was going to do it in my house. You can do it in your house.
There you go.
I went out. I said, we're going to do this right. I go down to Best Buy. I get a webcam, not a pen, the webcam, the Lux. $200 webcam. I got it for cheaper, but because they ran out. But we're going to do this all the way. I hook it up. I get a light. I make sure the lighting is good. Guess what? You can't stream Instagram unless you have special software, which is way beyond my technical abilities. So here we are sitting together.
Right.
And Hashem's got his own thing.
But we also applied the Emunah B'tachon. You know what? We didn't fight City Hall. That's what Hashem wants. He wanted us to be alive. You can either get upset and throw the thing in the wall,
Right.
or you say, okay, I'm machnia myself. It is what it is.
It is what it is. There is no other way. And that is really, you just can't.
For those of you who saw us practicing and screaming at each other, we were just bantering.
That was just warm up. Just wait till we get going.
Right.
So that's kind of how I got into it. And then we set up, and you try to talk to people and try to help people, and and that's what you try to do. You try to help people over the hump. Right. The truth of the matter is, I'll save you your next question. So, like, what type of people do we work with? Right? So I see there's 3 categories. You'll add in whatever I missed. There is people who just fears getting out in the first time. They just can't get themselves together. They're not ready. They're scared. Whatever it is, you got to get them together. Mm-hmm. Whatever it is, you need a job. They need their life together. They need bitachon. They need self-confidence, which we can talk a lot about. There's a lot of stuff till somebody actually feels confident enough and able to do it. Then you have people who've going out for a while but are stuck. Right? I mean, in the middle of that is decision management. The guy's going out 3-4 times, girl's going out a couple times, she's got those know. Should I continue? Should I not continue? Are these red flags real red flags? Are they my imagination? So you got to get in there like triage, figure it out, and where do we go? But those, to me, are hard because I don't really know the people well enough. So you try your best, and you usually get it right. It's all siyata d'shmaya. Without that, it's nothing. And then there are people going out for a long time. So, and they either have no clue why they're saying no to everybody, or they have no clue why everybody's saying no to them, and then you got to start figuring out what's going on. So, sometimes the parents and them are not on the same page. Then you have to deal with parents. Parents can get tricky. They think their sons are a yeshiva. They think their daughter is who knows what. They're only willing to go out with this. They're only willing to go out with that.
I have a few cases like that.
Right?
And you try to get them to become a little bit more open-minded.
And you get the same people.
Right.
And sometimes it's the opposite. The boy wants to sit and learn. The father is like, where are you going to get parnasah? Don't come to me.
Right.
So you're that way.
I'll tell you a cute story.
Go.
There was a guy and a girl going out, and it was time for the guy to meet her father. So he came over, and the wife of the girl is the mother of the girl is in the kitchen while her husband goes out to talk to him. So, my dear young man, what's going to be? What are you going to do? Be'ezras Hashem, we'll figure it out, right? Where are you going to live? How are you going to support? Be'ezras Hashem. Did you get an apartment? Be'ezras Hashem will find it. Right? So then he goes back to the kitchen, and the wife's waiting for the report. What do you think? What's going to be? He looks at his wife and goes, he thinks I'm God.
I love him. I love him. Classic.
But anyway, he was saying, so
then you got that. So those are the three major things: getting going, getting over, and then figuring out. I was told once we did a hotel event, and so I got up to speak. I was still new in the game. I said, which I still believe, that anybody who's dating a number of years. And there are a number of girls. Some people say 4 years and 40. Some people say 5 and 50. Some people say 6 and 60. If you haven't found a couple of serious relationships, or you haven't gotten it there yet, you need help. You might need help from somebody like us. You might need help from a Rabbi, a mentor, an old teacher, a cousin. Your parents probably are a little too involved. I hate to say it. They're a little bit too much this. I'm probably going to get some flack for this, but this is what I believe.
I have to agree that maybe years ago not, but today, 25, 26, 27, you're there and you're not married, you can strongly use a dating coach.
Or a Rabbi.
Or a Rabbi, someone to guide.
Somebody
someone that knows the dating world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, it's hard to tell people. People think, if just the right guy walked in the door, I'm good. Just the right guy. And that might be true. But the right guy, as Rabbi Kamenetsky once has told, in his time, Kanievsky, not Kamenetsky, the Stipler. No, not Stipler, back his father.
Sure.
Who said, one of my friends, he's like, you found the right girl already. You said no.
Right.
Yeah?
He was referring to an older single who came crying to him. What happened? Where's the kala? He goes, she's long gone with 4 kids by now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he goes, why? Because you found every one of these girls that you went out with, you had to always find some negative.
Right.
Some chisaron.
Right. I was talking to a woman last night, just, I told people I'm doing the podcast, so what do you think I should talk about? So she says, I had a friend of mine, this guy was dying for her.
Right.
Like, dying for her. And she said, no, not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. Finally, 5 years later, she decides to marry him. Yeah, he's got 2 kids with him.
Wow.
And this is this woman's friend. She's like, this happens. I was talking to a Shatzman from Lakewood, Ellie Hartman.
Great guy, Great guy. Super guy.
Great guy. Either he said or somebody else said, he says, everybody's willing to date the person that was willing to marry them 2 years ago. hey,
You missed the boat.
yeah.
Yeah.
My sister, everybody's willing to, says the same thing. Willing to marry. I mean, it's a Gemara like that. I don't want to bring it in with, she went out to look for this, with that. If you know that Gemara, fine, but it's a hard story and I don't want to go there.
Right.
But you got to go with the best available deal today.
Right.
This is it. This is the market. And listen, if you don't click, you don't click. Okay, hey. But don't think about what was available 2 years ago. I don't get flack for this too. But that is what there is.
Get realistic.
Get real.
And update your non-negotiables.
All the time.
Yeah.
I just spent last night we were talking with somebody.
That's, by the way, that's a good definition of, do you want me to settle? No, we don't want you to settle, but we want you to update your non-negotiables.
Right. You're not settling.
Yeah.
You're getting real with what is important to you today.
Correct.
I was talking to somebody last night. He says, we're talking about movies. He said, I'm not going to marry a girl who goes to movies. I go, why? I was stuck. By the way, if you're watching it, hi. I was stuck. He wasn't sure. Now, I could give you a bunch of reasons, or you could give me a bunch of reasons why somebody that's a value or not a value.
Well, I would say, I would...
But he wasn't sure
right.
why that... It was like, I don't want to... Like, what does it matter to you? I could tell you why it's not a problem. I could tell you why it is a problem.
Right.
But why is it or is not a problem to you is what matters. Not why is it a problem to your Rebbe, or it's a problem to your Mora, to your mother, to what the neighbor's going to think. Go do the pro and con on that. Go for it.
It's a good point. So, especially in the frum world, as the girls get older, these girls came from good homes. They went to good Beis Yaakovs. I always try to tell the guys who are being a little fussy with that, I said, you may come home, you might be going to a night Seder, you have what to do. They're not going to night Seder.
Right.
So they're pulling out their phones and going on Netflix or whatever. But that's not a crime for now. That's just a way for her to bide her time until she gets to the point where she meets a guy and she can easily drop that stuff. It's like you said, it's a really dumb reason to lose a great girl.
Right.
Because unfortunately, as they get older, they have time on their hands. Yeah.
And, and decide if you're really there or if it's just something you theoretically care about. Like, what matters to you about this girl? Is she going to be good to you? Is she going to be good to your kids? Is she kind? Like, let's get the core values.
Problem is patience today is at a minimum. People are not taking the time or giving that person or the candidate the time that it calls for in order to get into their being and discover these wonderful things.
It's true.
They're very dismissive quickly.
I don't know whether it's fear or pain. What do you think? Like is it? I often think it's just a fear to get married. Just I'm going to find 18 reasons to say no, and then, or just they're so burnt. There's people like, I'm going to get into it, and then they're going to say, no, it's going to fall apart. Let me cut it off now. And then you run into no pain, no gain.
Right.
So it's very hard. You mentioned burnout. Like, burnout really is, I met a woman, I'm trying to remember her name. She's a well-known psychologist, and I gave her a ride back from Lakewood. I didn't know. She was just, somebody asked me, are you driving, we're in Lakewood?
Yeah.
Somebody asked me, going back to Brooklyn. I was like, yeah, we look like, eating with the kids in Lakewood. We might be going back. Her ride messed up. And I'm like, yeah, come in. She talked about dating trauma.
Interesting.
Dating trauma.
Right.
Right? So, I don't know if you're into it. I spent a lot of time studying trauma theory and being trauma informed and stuff. There's big trauma, little trauma. There's a lot to talk about in trauma. But dating trauma is real trauma.
Wait, there's an overexposure to dating?
If you've been dating, let's break it down a minute. You're dating 4 years, right? 3 girls you liked or 3 guys you liked told you no. Your self-worth is like, who am I? I'm not worthy. I'm nothing.
True.
Chopped liver. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
That's not trauma.
Right.
Only if your mother disabused you, that's trauma. Your father didn't give you enough recognition, that's trauma. Your Rabbi yelled at you, your mother didn't give you a good roommate in seminary, or whatever else is going on in your life. Putting up with the day-to-day pain of, the phone doesn't ring. Nobody likes me. Where's my self-worth? I went to Beis Yaakov, I did all the right things. I did all the good things. I was a good girl. And where am I? What's going on?
Right. So that inflicts a lot of pain, especially as they view themselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who am I? And does anybody want me? And then that, consequentially shows itself in the way she performs on a date, or lack of enthusiasm, doesn't want to go out. Yeah.
And you don't have enough energy to give in because you don't have enough energy to take the pain.
Right.
So you can't go in because you're afraid to lose. You know what I mean? You can only spend if you have enough capital to go, but if you don't, you can't invest in a deal if you can't take the downside risk. So you're going to cut it off early, but do what I call the defensive no. I'll probably drop me anyways, so I'm going to go put myself out. I'm going to tell him all my story. I'm going to be open, and then we left hanging dry.
And then he knows about my life, and I don't want to expose my vulnerability to him.
Well, the guys are the other way, because guys are good at being vulnerable, like they're not. You spend a lot of time trying to explain to a guy how to emotional vulnerability and being open. And then the poor guy comes to me, so I'm emotional, and she drops me. She wants a tough guy. Poor guy couldn't.
I had this discussion.
Poor guy couldn't catch a break.
I had this discussion, very interesting, with. I went to a wedding yesterday in Lakewood of a family that I know. I've helped their children, and they're from Toronto, and subsequently I found out that the chassan is from Chicago, and he called me today to thank me that I came to the wedding because it's far. So anyway, I said it's my pleasure, and then he says to me, I said to him, it's very interesting that you got a guy from Chicago because I got two now son-in-laws from Chicago. I said, isn't it better because out-of-town boy, more calm, more relaxed,
Yeah, right.
And he's like, he said New York boys have a reputation, or New York girls as well have a reputation. So there's a softness to that. And so here's the point that he made. He goes, people say that a girl went out with my son, and he said he's too nice. What's wrong with a nice guy? He's too nice. And he tells me.
Colin C. Shine, they used to say Yiddish. She's too pretty. Yeah, sure.
That he said to me, that nice guy is going to get up at 3 a.m. to go to CVS to get diapers.
Yeah.
So
that's what you want.
Yeah.
What's the old ad? Who do you trust to pick up the phone at 2 a.m.? It was back in a presidential, do you trust this guy?
Oh.
Who do you want to meet at 2 a.m. doing a diaper? Right? Do you trust your husband to get out of bed, to actually do it after you've had a hard day? These are things that matter.
Exactly.
These are things that matter.
Exactly. And unfortunately, if you don't do the proper research, you can find yourself not to an abrasive fellow who's into his life and into his stuff. We've seen too much of that.
You mentioned we should talk about the divorce crisis, which is painful.
What are you seeing with that? Because I deal with a lot of divorced people. A lot. Yeah.
See, I haven't gotten into the marriage counseling thing. My Rabbi.
I deal with a lot of people re-entering the market.
That I do.
Yeah. But I do marriage as well. I do a lot of marriage therapy.
Okay, see, that's your space. My Rabbi doesn't allow me.
Yeah.
I leave it to you.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Not simple.
It's not.
Yeah.
I always say marriage therapy is this. Tell me if I'm wrong. There is A piece, B piece, right? He needs help, she needs help. There's always takes two. It's usually, unless some people never fall in and really. But if the two normal people, so to speak, they both need help explaining relationships and then the relationship dynamic. So there's 3 things going on, right? You do Sue Johnson in terms of emotional therapy, love me deeply, or got the exact words. There's a lot of emotional what they call today relational intelligence.
Right.
And it often has to do with modeling by the parents, what the relationships they've seen, and how they either do or don't learn to relate. Some people learn from other people, some people don't. Some people naturally, sometimes a couple just doesn't click. But there's so much going on,
Right.
it's just a hard thing to do.
Well, there are a lot of life's challenges, children, etc. I had a case a couple of weeks ago where the woman can't get help for the house, cleaning help on Friday. She's so frustrated, 20 minutes before Shabbos, she packed up and left. Left them with the 3 kids.
Now we'll learn.
I thought actually a solution to the problem, but
For her,
learning how to navigate life's challenges is critical.
It is, and life is not easy today.
No.
It is not.
No. Everyone's working hard, everyone's trying to make a dollar. Children, it's just, we're exposed. There are all types of threats out there.
Don't even go into that.
Yeah.
It used to be, you really didn't worry about certain stuff, whether it happened or not.
Took for granted. Security and safety was taken for granted.
Just fear.
Right.
Also, it gets into getting married, also staying married, is expectations.
Very important point. Right.
And we live with the era of, everybody talks about it. I don't know the actual answers. There was a shidduch study coming out of Muncie. There was another one, and then you don't hear about them. If anybody has the actual thing, feel free to send it to us. But I think there, you talk about numbers game, Nasi project, and there's a certain point to everything. But by the Chassidim, there are more boys. By us, there are more girls, so to speak. And I've tried to find a way to match them up, and it doesn't work that easy.
By the way, there was a great study this summer that was cited in Ami magazine, in which an actuary and an accountant looked at the numbers in Lakewood from the 1990s until now, and it turns out that for every 100 girls, 107 boys, which is amazing. So there's really no technical deficiency in the girls' side. So what's happening? Some of the guys are dropping out of the picture. Maybe they're not too frum anymore. Some of the girls' expectations, they're more professional now, and they have, as a result, they're waiting longer, and they have higher expectations of one of the guy. I'll give you an example. I've already been told, and I made 3 or 4 pitches this week to guys on certain girls, and in the girls' resumes, and they're 30, 32, 33, looking for a professional.
No, 33, you can look for a professional. That's what you want.
I say if the guy's a successful real estate guy or the guy's a successful Amazon guy, you're going to say no to him. And
you mean you're talking about the education portion,
right?
The intellectual, that type of.
So I'm losing potential candidates on the guy's side because the girls are already putting up these requirements. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, between me and you, it's nice to have somebody educated if that's your bent.
Right.
Right. But I don't talk, big psychology. I don't know most couples that are talking heavy-duty, educational things.
I think that some of the girls are just stretching that need, and it's costing them in terms of potential guys. And guys get turned off when they see that. Some guys have told me already on that, so that I have to be careful with that. Especially, I remember once dealing with a girl who I liked a lot, but I said, "Can I see your dating resume and photo?" The photo comes in with a clinical lab coat. I said, "Do me a favor, get rid of the coat. Just give me a nice Shabbos dress.
Give me a break."
Yeah, don't overwhelm these guys. You know what I'm saying?
The girls are way educated. Also, the guys start later. If you want to learn a guy, that's the way it comes. The guy spent in yeshiva till he's 25, 26. He's not turning around and making $500,000 paying a star. It'd be nice, but everybody wants the guy who went to Brisk, and again, the father can support him, which would be great, or he somehow managed to do a business for $500,000, paying a star, and not that he takes a full.
It's not far and few in between.
Now, as we always say, that, and I tell the same to the guy, that girl who comes from the amazing family and comes from da 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 da, what is she looking for? You?
Right.
Right? I'm saying, we talked about this. You have to be realistic about what it is you can get. And within that space, you look for what's most important to you. We were talking also, we had some girls at the table, we were talking. So some of the girls that, since the girls that are like top, they find it easy. The girls that everybody thought would struggle, they find a nice guy to marry them.
Right, because they keep the total pole lower.
She says that upper 30%, that below the top 10 or 20, the next 20, 30%, who really want those top guys, but unfortunately they can't. And the same for the guys who finally figure out that the Rockefeller's daughter is not about to marry him, then they get into it if they're brains. Otherwise, then it becomes a problem. You're allowed to play around your first year, 2 years, but get real.
Exactly.
The guy's 32. He's still thinking he's going to marry, some who knows what, who happens to be yeshivish. I'm sorry.
You have to get with the program. Understand who you are and come to terms with that. Yeah.
And it's okay because that's not what's in life.
Right.
Yes, it is better to be single than to be married lousy, to be married badly. Yeah. I truly believe that.
Right. That's Gehenna.
That's Gehenna. That's, yes.
Yeah.
But the Gemara says, Tavlamet of Tandu. Right. It's better to be together than to be alone. 100%. And there's so many benefits that it's hard to explain. Either the hard parts of marriage or the easy parts of marriage or the great parts of marriage to somebody who's not in it. But it is better than baseline. And you try to explain it to people that, yes, it would be great if, who knows what. But if you have somebody to go through your life together with, that's nice.
Absolutely.
So you don't have the this, you don't have the that.
Loneliness is a very severe thing. Yeah.
Yes. And the flip side of that, to be badly married, if you're lonely together, that's not fun.
Right.
Being married and lonely, that's not good. If you're truly lonely, some people, make their own issues, and that's where you wind up coming in and trying to tell the guy, okay, listen, or the girl, listen, he's a good guy, chill out, and enjoy your life.
It's critical that people figure themselves out. I always tell people when they're single, what do you stand for? What are your goals? And then once you know that, then you can go. You're driving the car, then look for a person who's going to then sit in the passenger seat that's going the same direction.
That is so well said.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Rabbi, he said, he quoted me a Ravoba.
Right, Sholom, great name.
And it's like what we do. We go from young and this to Revolvin and always sure and because really it's both of it. I mean, we all had it first, that's for sure. But some of these secular things, they explain it well.
Right.
It's a good way to explain it and understand it. What Chazal say in 2 sentences takes them half a book, but it's a little easier to understand. But the avoid of knowing yourself is the hardest avoida. And some people don't get it,
Well, they avoid doing it, or they're just...
Right, it's just a hard avoid. And if you know yourself, who it is you are and what it is you want, your life's just way easier, and you can look for what's important to you.
Also, you won't date needlessly.
Yeah.
Which leads to burnout. If you have a specific, more of an agenda, I'm a very big proponent of the top 10 list. Knowing what your needs are, not your wants. Your needs. Wants are superficial. Your needs are qualities of character that you need in a person to live with a kindness, compassion, generous, lack of anger, things like that. And then Simchas Achayim, the big one, huge. Optimism, good communicator. We need good communication. That's critical.
You have to. You have to learn. You have to learn how forget the writers. Communication without violence. That's the title of the book, and it's they teach it.
Wow.
It's how to communicate nicely. Not like, hi, where you been? What'd you do? Hello, I'm a person. You don't talk to your shoemaker that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Hello, how you doing? What's going on? How was your day?
I need to point out something also, that our girls are virtuous.
They are.
They come from great homes. They come from great yeshivas. And yesterday, I created a video based on my Rabbi Victor Miller, and he was asked a fantastic question. And he said, someone
I
asked
love
him,
to see your smile when you talked about it, Rabbi Victor Miller. I just love it.
Thank you. Thank you. He said, someone asks him a question: should I go out with a girl who can't carry a conversation? Should I date a girl? And his answer would be so opposite what we're expecting. He goes, not only should you go out with her, grab her before someone else gets her. And the reason is because, he cites that Klal Yisrael is Rahmanim, Barshanim, Gemul, Chasadim. We're, for the audience that's not so fluent in Hebrew, we're merciful, we're bashful, and we love to do chesed. Girls are bashful, and as a result, but they're smart. They're sharp as a tack, a lot of these girls. Give them the opportunity to open up. Give them an opportunity. It takes time. Not everyone is, a rock star extrovert. Yeah.
And the extroverts need downtime too.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's also, conversation is interesting. We get asked that a lot by people who are starting to date. How do you do conversation? And conversation, I see, is interest, curiosity. Go into the date with an open mind. Let me learn about this person. Let me hear. Every person's a story. Every person's a life. There's so much to learn about anybody and everybody.
True.
And everybody's interesting. People have so much to them.
Everyone has a story.
And if you're only interested and you only talk to them and you give them the opportunity and you listen, you'll be amazed.
Right.
The idea is you want to talk a little bit and listen. Ask. I teach guys to answer in paragraphs also. Conversation, not yeah, no, yeah.
Okay. Exactly.
Let's work on it. Let's do a paragraph. Let's answer a sentence. Let's do a paragraph.
Show curiosity about their life.
Right.
Yeah. And it's important too, I should point this out, micro skills, which is the nonverbal part of the communication portion, is critical. Nodding, good eye contact, relaxed, not crossed arms like you're ready for conflict. Body language is critical. Yeah. Exactly.
They call it mirroring.
Right.
You'll notice often, you'll see yourself, because you're a pro, you'll see yourself, you'll find yourself in the same body position and the same attitudes as the person you're talking to.
Interesting point. Good point. Yeah.
And do that. You can consciously do it to open yourself up. You're sitting like this, your negative body language. You sit open.
Right.
It's like, hi, talk to me. How you doing?
Very important.
Let me hear you.
Very, very important. I have a case to share with you. I want to hear your thoughts on this. I received a phone call about 10 days ago from a girl who's 30. She had made Aliyah to Israel, and her mother used to come to my classes. And she did the IDF, she's living in Tel Aviv, traditional. But she was concerned. She's going out with a guy 5 months who was also an Oleh. He is from another continent compared to her. She's a former American. And her desire is to have 3 to 4 kids and keep Shabbat, Shabbos better. He is holding by 1 or 2 children, and he's not there in terms of Shabbos. He's not keeping Shabbos. So have you encountered people that were dating with very disparate religious values, and what are your thoughts about that? And do you believe that someone should enter a relationship on the expectation that someone will change?
Oh, that was that first conversation that we got into. It's just that, I'll answer the question.
Yeah.
But I have to tell the story.
Let me hear. Remind me, fresh memory.
We were talking about something. This came up at
this wasn't at the metro, was it?
No. I'll tell you, it was upstairs, not top floor, middle floor. We were on the left side.
Yes.
No, we're on the right side.
Yes.
We were just schmoozing.
Okay.
And it was just one of those things. And this had happened again by Shabbos. Some girl was saying, this guy took me to Build-A-Bear.
Oh, you told me the story. Tell the audience.
To Build-A-Bear, this and that. And my daughter was still at home at the time, and goes, You don't need Build-A-Bear, you need Build-A-Bacher. And the meal, we just had a great time after that.
I love that one.
This is Build-A-Bear. But it's true, you do have to take what are the things you need, and as you said, the core values, and we'll get back to the answer to the question. And you get a few toppings, right? You get like, I need a little of this. I need a tall guy. I need a tall guy. Okay, you need a tall guy, so you'll marry a tall guy. You need a tall guy who's rich and a Talmud Chacham and this and that. And the other thing, okay, you don't push it. But if you need Dafka Talmud Chacham, you get a Talmud Chacham. You need Dafka a guy who has money, you'll find. It might cost you in some other area. He might not be 6'2", he might be 5', whatever. Okay. But if that's what you want, you can almost always get what you want most. But we always say, and I'll get back to your question, decide what you want more and what you want most. And that's defined, your wants and your needs. Yeah, everybody needs some topping. Everybody needs a little cream on top. You need that thing that really draws you. That, you know, I always tell people, what are you definitely not going to take? And what does it for you? What? I see a guy who's outgoing, I see a girl who's dynamic, I need a blonde, whatever. I don't care. That's what you need. That's okay. If you need everything, you're out of business. You can get it. Now, in terms of your question, so very interesting. There's a guy in my show speaking by Shal Shudas, and his mother had passed away. And he said, it was like a yard site, or it's a shloshim. His mother passed away. I was speaking about her. And his father was Mafrum. And Talmud Chacham, his father. His mother was more modern.
Okay.
And she went to movies. This guy's 70, right? He's got great-grandchildren. And his mother made it to 90. Kanai Nahara. All Yiddish Kindergezuk. In Yiddish, that means that for all Jews, at least 90, I think she was 99.
Wow.
We should, and more, and she was healthy and sharp. Said she made a decision that she's going to let him learn, and she's going to run a from household. And he was like, if you need to go to the movies, you'll do your thing. Says, but she never, and it was okay. And it worked. He says, he gives her mother credit that she made a decision and she stuck to it. But there's certain things that are hard to do. You know, it's a guy's not a construction project. I was the old saying that when men marry women, hope they'll never change, but they do, and it goes the other way. Girls marry guys and hope they'll change, but they don't. And then guys marry women, hope they'll never change, but they do. But what do I think? It's hard. Does he, what does he say? If they agree to disagree and they're happy, you can be in different relationships and be married together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Unless it's a conflict with the kids, so you have to work it out. You have to make a decision. How are you going to raise your kids? Where are you going to be? Everybody, he's not my ashkafi. He's now political. If you're right or left or liberal.
So I think.
What do you think?
Tell me what you think. I think in the dating relationship is where you have to flush that out, and to see.
Sure.
I'm a believer that the girl. It's always better if the girl's a little bit more from than the guy, because she's the Ikeres Habayis. She's the Ikeres Habayis. She's the focus. She's the central fulcrum of the house. And but nevertheless, you don't want a discrepancy that's too large, because that can
confuse the kids.
Yeah, I have a case, a Sholom Bayis case out west, where she walks a mile in Las Vegas to shul, and he doesn't go to shul, and he does all types of stuff. He's on the radio or TV, whatever it is, washing his car. 10 minutes before Kiddush, he hops in the car and he goes down to Kiddush, and there's cops in that house all the time. It could be a problem in terms of kashrus. Guy goes to McDonald's, he puts it in the refrigerator. What do we do with his leftovers? So it definitely, and the kids becomes a serious issue as well. So I think that's something that we need to always factor in. It's critical, because I always say that marriage, and it's not mine, but Gila Madison is a great writer. She writes that she had a couple that came to her, his name Larry and Linda. She probably changed the names. They agreed on virtually everything: politics, diet, green energy, you name it, the works, travel. And they were enviable as a couple.
Right.
Larry and Linda today.
One minor problem.
Larry and Linda today are now divorced. What happened? Despite their amazing compatibility, why didn't their marriage make it? Because Larry and Linda didn't possess the concept of growth, which comes from religion. Right? They didn't see marriage, this is the $5 million statement that she made, as a spiritual path. And if you think about our lives are very much identified and assembled through our religious paths. Our Shabbosim, our Yom Tov, etc.
That's for sure.
So it can be a crisis. I have a case of a guy who came to me from Lakewood with 6 kids, divorced, and the wife just started giving out iPhones to everyone in the house, basically became very liberal, progressive, and they just went their separate ways.
If you're on core values and you're not willing to work with each other.
Exactly. You can find common ground.
Exactly. You can have your own space, right?
But it can't be too different. Yeah, because otherwise it becomes a school issue, a social issue. Right. And you have to have somewhere. You have to have common. You have a common path. Common path, exactly.
David Liebman talks about that also. You have to have a space to come. He talks about it in dating. You have to have a space to come together.
Exactly.
Means the things that you agree on and the things that you don't always agree on, you don't have to.
It's fine.
But you have to have your space where you can get together.
Yeah. And that you feel you can grow together.
And growth is important.
Yeah, that's important.
That's
what defines Judaism.
Right. When we look at Yiddishkeit as marriage as a spiritual thing, it's a talucha. We're not. You're right. It's more than I often give it enough credit for.
Yeah.
It's a very good point. And that gets marriages often through difficult parts because you're on a shared mission. You're not each on your own little mission, your own little thing that you're doing. It's not always about you.
Yes.
It's about us. It's about together. It's about Avodat Hashem.
It's about the team.
It's about the team.
Right.
And if it's not about you, you have space.
Very nice. Very, very nice.
That's
beautiful.
What else is on your mind tonight? Let
me see what I want to talk to you about.
Whole week on the stories. We'll have to.
As a dating mentor, Sholom.
Yes.
Is there any specific midah you like to see in a person that tells you that person is a really solid candidate in marriage?
Savlanut.
Right.
Sobel means sobel comes the root word of being able to carry and to do it, and you're able to just carry the other person's needs.
Bear that burden.
Bear that burden and carry the other person's needs. And if you are able to put the other person's needs in front of your own, you have a lot of room to work. And you're able to swallow it. You don't always have to answer back. You don't always have to be the smartest guy in the room, girl. You don't have to prove anything. People have a certain amount of self-confidence. They're good with themselves. They are. And Sablanut is probably, Chesed is, everybody talks about Chesed, so obviously, right? Chesed is number one. But Chesed begins at home.
Right.
And we see this, I'm sure you in therapy, people, they're great to everybody, but are they great to the wife? Are they great to the kids?
Right.
Starts small circle, bigger circle. So then I don't know how you can tell before marriage, but you can find out if you do information. I'm a big believer in information, but you don't go crazy, but check it out.
It's very interesting. I had 2 broken engagement cases that came to me. One was where the girl went to the guy's house for Shabbos prior to the wedding, and the mother started saying Advar Torah. And the girl was watching the dynamics of the home. And when the mother sat down, and the chassan, actually, hey, Ma, we heard that already. Would you just shut up? We don't want to hear that again. Then she started to see an aspect of him that she never knew before.
Right.
So that was
done.
That was see you later.
That's called beat the bullet.
Right?
Escape this.
Right. And there was another one where a girl came in and they went out for dinner with her brothers and sisters. She had some fairly large family. And he kept pushing the kid out of the way when he came to taking pictures, her brothers and her sisters. Don't go into this picture. He was a selfish guy. He was, very self-centered.
Right.
And many of the people today that are involved in marriages, like for example, Manas Friedman being one of them, he says, what does he see mostly today? Selfishness. Big problem.
Yeah.
Selfishness.
Although on one side, shidduchim is when you do have to be selfish, but
that's
you don't
100%.
want a selfish person.
Yeah.
Shidduchim, you have to worry about yourself. It's about you. You're the person who's going to live with them, not your mother, not your father, not your sister, not your Rabbi, not your mentor. You have to take care of. But where I was thinking before is today, the one and dones get me nervous. Do your information first.
Correct.
I mean, pictures are available. You get the phone numbers. You can find out what you want. If you're one and doneing too much, this is one of the things we talk about. It's not looking for patterns. What are you doing wrong? Why are you one and doneing? Either don't go out, or do your information and figure out who you want to date.
They're not doing enough work on themselves to determine who I am and what are the qualities for my bashert.
All right.
Yeah.
And then you're wasting your own time.
Yeah.
Burnout. Poor guy or poor girl all of a sudden has to take a self-emotion hit, and either might have driven in or might have taken off time from work or might have flown in from somewhere. Right? Figure it out. There's so much help available, and so much, if you know you look and you know you're not going to marry this girl, don't go out with her.
I have to share a crazy story with the audience that someone shared with me yesterday. He's a modern guy, he likes to learn, but I feel he should be going out with a more firmer girl, because he knows how to learn extremely well, though he went to a co-ed yeshiva high school, but he's a brilliant guy. Anyway, so he told me about a certain girl that he was set up with, and he had declined, but I had mentored her briefly.
Right.
And I said, I think it's a good idea. Call the shadchan and make the suggestion, you should go out with her. So he says to me, he's telling me, giving me the background yesterday. He went out with her the first time to dinner, it was pretty good. Second time around, they had an issue of determining what they should do, so they decided to go axe throwing. Okay, but he's not making much of an effort to really get to know her, and he already decided, in his mind, he's not going out with her anymore in the middle of the axe throwing. So he did something which is, I think, unconventional, if not disrespectful move. He starts to talk it up with the person who was like the supervisor of the axe throwing place, and it turns out that they have in common they have in common jiu-jitsu and taekwondo and all, karate.
I wouldn't piss off a girl when she's got an axe in her hand. I don't know. I'd be nice.
So
go ahead.
This story is bizarre. So he turns his attention from the girl, and he says to the guy, "You want to wrestle?" So they start to wrestle, and what happens in the interim? He lifts his shoulder, and he dislocates his shoulder, and he's in massive pain. He's in massive pain.
You gotta feel bad for the kid. No matter what.
So now they call Hatzalah, and it's in a Williamsburg location. So two Hasidic guys come over. Yeah, it's definitely dislocated. So he says, "Dude, just pop it back." He goes, "Has this ever happened to you?" He says to them, "No. If it had happened before, we could pop it back. But the protocol is that we can't break protocol. If it's the first time, we have to take you to the emergency room."
Okay.
And this guy now, the pain's getting worse and worse and worse.
Right. Yeah, morphine. Right?
So he tells the girl, "You can take an Uber home. I feel so bad." "No, I can't do that." She's a little girl. She's very nice. She goes, "I'll take your car. I'll drive behind the Hatzalah." So they drive behind the Hatzalah, and they get into the emergency room. They put him in a treatment area. Takes his shirt off, and there she is, while this guy's being worked with, right? And make a long story short, after 2 hours, they were able to relocate the shoulder joint, and she drives him home in his car.
Right.
And he's calling me yesterday to tell me how do I now
how do I get out of this?
How to get rid of her. I said, "But you saw in action fantastic midos.
Right.
That's what life's about." But he can't get over that obstacle of the media, because she's not the look that I wanted. So I said, had it been a typical person, I said to him, who had, grounded, that would have said, aha, that's an aha moment.
Now this is what you want.
This is what, she followed you, she took your car, she drove it for you.
You could have easily just stopped it.
Come on, wake up and smell the coffee. And
it's a hindrance. The truth is, if you dafka need a certain whatever topping, so to speak, money or looks or this or that, look at it for what it is. It's got you. Maybe you need to cater to it. Maybe that you really need, but at least be honest with yourself.
Right. It's interesting what's going on out there. Wow. Some people are truly, like you said, they're owned by the Yetzer Hara, where they can't see the goodness in someone.
Right.
It's right there. Yeah.
And that's what really, really matters in life. It's true.
Right.
You get into it, you're going to have to live with this person for a long time.
Right.
Hopefully. And, yeah.
We had a conversation with Elisa Ben Sholom, and she made a very interesting point. She says, skin can sag, but personalities don't. She's got the greatest sayings. Yeah.
Date until you hate them. But she, something, you sent me the link of the thing, and I watched it actually.
Okay.
And she said something very interesting, and it goes back to something that we said. She said that wherever I go, all people come. I didn't catch whether it was girls or guys. There's nobody here for me. There's nobody here. She said, go to LA, nobody. The girls, no, or the guys, I didn't catch that. Nobody here, nobody here. And then back to what we were saying before. That's what there is. That's what there is. You can wait or deal with what you got.
Right.
And so maybe the dream is better than the reality, if you're 21, 22, who knows, I'll marry that guy who's a Navy SEAL and manages to finish house in the meantime. I don't know, Langston. But, make up your mind. They only made X amount of brisket guys and who actually learned.
Right,
sorry for my brisket boys. But it's hard. What's the problem? One of the problems, I always think that we're going to run out of time, but one of the problems that to be a top learning guy is not easy.
Sure.
It's just a limited amount of people who can sit down there and put in 10, 12 hours a day, what it takes. To really be a top guy, you got to put in your hours. And then you'll have the next guys who like to learn are really good, right? And the guys who learn a lot and sometimes have better personalities or meters. And then there's some guys who truly are amazing, but there's a very limited supply of them.
Right. Get realistic.
Yeah, and I want to say, and I want to say one other thing, just reminding me. People said, but I'm going to change. So change now.
Yes. I always tell people, don't telescope into the future. It's only going to get worse. Whatever changes you need to do it now.
I tell guys, the selection is not getting better.
Right.
Next year, it ain't gonna. If this is what you have now. If you can live with it, you meet somebody you like. Right. Don't think tomorrow. And then, but I'm done. I'm looking for. I said, you're looking for this. You got to bring this.
Right.
Okay, so become that guy. If that's what you want, step up. If you want a girl who wants a guy who learns the Durham, learns the Durham. You want a girl who wants a guy who does chesed, do chesed. Then you'll become attractive to these people.
Right. You'll magnetize that.
Right. Become that girl who stays overnight in the hospital with a patient's family.
Beautiful.
There are girls like that. Right. And there are many of them.
Become that.
And these are the girls who people should really want. And if there is a kid in the family who's never off the derech or who's struggling because of whatever, the rest of the family has gone through and is now better.
Correct.
People look at people, they never had a Down syndrome brother. Those families are better. Yeah. They're
generous, compassionate, they worked out.
They're good out. They're
true.
Caring. Somebody had to take care of this kid when the mother had to go away. Right. Life wasn't so easy. You have good quality. Go for it. Those are bonus points. you can, you look for discounts, or you look for stuff. That's chayra. That's good stuff.
Sholom, we're going to have to invite you back. I want to thank
honored.
you. The time went so fast, like 5 minutes.
Unbelievable.
It was an amazing conversation. I want to thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. It's an honor to share values and ideas. It's all in the common interest of helping Klal Yisrael to be able. What are we here for? But to want to build many Jewish homes and make this a place that just as wonderful a world as we can make it. Thank you everyone for joining us.
We didn't get to any of the feedback or any of the comments coming in. If they stay up, we're looking through. If we're going to come together, we'll try to deal with it.
We will.
Talk about it.
Okay, terrific. I want to wish everyone a wonderful Shabbos and Sholom. Where can you be reached? Tell the audience.
Thing. First of all, I'm on Instagram on Sholom Coach. Sholom Coach on Instagram. My number is 917-859-8591. Reach out. It's not complicated.
There you go.
And Jack is
I'm Dr. Jack. Dr. Jack. You should be able to find me. drjackdating.com. Thanks everyone. And send your questions if you have. Have a wonderful Shabbos and thank you for joining us.